stupid, a moron, an idiot, a dumbass. I'm talking about myself because today we're going to go over my early season predictions, my preseason predictions. We're going to look at my award predictions, my conference standings predictions, and we're going to see where I was right and probably more often than not where I was wrong. The season is over, depending on the team you're rooting for, the Dallas Mavericks. This is a joyous occasion for you. You're probably jumping up and down with joy at this development. And I figured now's the time to go back and look at some of my early season, or preseason. I keep saying early season, but it was before the season started. My preseason predictions. I did all of these on streams months and months and months ago. If I remember, I'll put them down in the description. That way you can look at it. That way you can say, oh my God, you had this team finishing 8th? You are a fucking idiot. What were you thinking? So that way you could go back and look at that just to see my reasoning. Now, it's been a long time since I've looked at some of these predictions, so I have a good idea of what I had, but I'm honestly not sure. So I'm in for some surprises just as much as you guys are. Just as a brief reminder, I'll have the standings up here off to the side. That way we can kind of look over them and remember them if we need to go back and take a peek here. But the season is over, and it's time to look. Let's start with awards. My award, look at the graphics team here. The graphics team here at the Slightly Biased headquarters, top notch. They work for Pixar, actually. So they just took some time off of developing Cars 4 to come here and help me do my graphics for my Google Docs. I really appreciate them for that. These are my preseason award predictions. I believe the way that I had this laid out was I had my slightly insane prediction. These were guys that were outside of the top 10 in each category. I then had my slightly safe pick, which was gun to my head. This is who I'm choosing, and then my own selection. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's how I did it. So let's just get into the NBA award predictions and see who I had winning what. Okay, we're just getting right into the MVP, huh? Yeah, my slightly insane pick was Trae Young. I do remember this. I thought that was some good value. Now here's the thing: it's like you're gonna have a really hard time finding anybody to bet on outside of the top 10 in MVP odds that you're not gonna completely and totally waste money on. I just thought Trae Young was a decent one if the Hawks were good, which I'm pretty sure. I'm actually scared to see where I had the Hawks in my Eastern Conference prediction now that I'm seeing this, but I'm pretty sure I thought they would be pretty good, and I thought he'd put up good enough numbers that he would get some consideration. My pick was Luka. I did think it was his time. I thought this year was his year. I thought narrative was going to be on it. You guys are going to see where I had the Mavericks soon, and it's embarrassing. But I thought that this was his year. The narrative was on his side. He was the betting favorite again. And for a good chunk of the season, it looked like he was going to be in the conversation until he wasn't. My slightly safe pick was Embiid, so I'll give myself a pat on the back there. Embiid's going to win it. I didn't even consider Jokic. I thought there was no way in hell they would give him his third consecutive MVP. So the fact that he made it as close as he did, props to him, because I legitimately thought there was zero chance he was going to win it. But, I got this one wrong. My safe pick was right, so I got that. My rookie of the year, my insane pick was Ousmane Dieng. Again, it was hard to find guys outside of the top 10. I do remember that. Although, J-Dub might have been outside the top 10. Like, he's probably going to finish second, so maybe he was outside the top 10. I don't really know. Walker Kessler would have been the real value pick if you wanted to go there. My safe pick was Paolo, so I got the safe selection right. I picked Keegan Murray. I don't know the reasoning there. I can't remember why I thought Keegan Murray was going to win. If I had to guess, I do this with rookies sometimes where I'm like, well, this rookie's going to be on a good team more than likely. So maybe that sways the voters. The reality is it never matters for rookie of the year. Not that I'm saying Paolo doesn't deserve it. He definitely does deserve it. But I think that was my thinking there with Keegan Murray. And Keegan had a good season, man. The all-time rookie three-point record, a great player, helped the Kings tremendously. A big reason why they're the 3 seed. But obviously he's not the rookie of the year. So 0 for 2 with my slightly biased picks. Make that 0 for 3 with my slightly biased picks. The most improved, impossible category to predict. Anthony Edwards was the favorite heading into the season. I remember that. My slightly insane pick was Devin Vassell, which, hey, he got hurt and missed a lot of time, but that didn't look like a terrible pick. Maybe he's another sleeper next year. My safe pick was Tyrese Maxey, who was the second best odds at plus 1,100. Jesus. And my pick was Josh Giddey. Obviously, it's going to be Markkanen, I'm pretty sure, right? Markkanen, Shea, Brunson, one of those three. To me, Markkanen is the most improved player. Like, he went from being, a pretty solid role guy to now all of a sudden he's like a top 20. Shout out to Brian Windhurst. I might say the M word, max contract guy. So the most improved player in the league this year, I think, is Markkanen. He's probably going to win it. I had Giddey. Second-year guys just don't win it. That's just not really a thing that happens too often. Coach of the year, I went with Ty Lue. Holy shit. Yeah, that's not happening. So I don't know if I'm going to get a single pick right here on my award predictions, which is kind of hilarious. I thought I don't know why I had Ty Lue. I thought the Clippers were going to be really good, and I thought this would maybe be a bit of a respect pick. Like, all right, Ty Lue's been a good coach for a minute now. Let's give him a Coach of the Year award finally. Obviously, it's going to be Mike Brown with the Sacramento Kings, as it should be. I don't think that might be unanimous, actually. That might be completely and totally unanimous, that Coach of the Year vote. If you thought that the Kings were going to be good, obviously some people thought the Kings were going to be decent, right? Like, I know for a fact I had them in the play-in, which isn't that big of a deal, but if you thought they would be a top 3 seed, which you're lying if you say you did, but if you thought that, then it was obvious that he was going to be Coach of the Year, right? But he's done a great job. I'm guessing Taylor Jenkins was the favorite. Maybe I have the favorites as the picture. I don't really remember what I did there. 6th man of the year, I went with Jordan Poole. Who's going to win this? Is it going to be Brogdon or Quickly? Brogdon or Quickly are going to win it. Slightly insane, Tim Hardaway Jr. Okay. Wow. All right. I guess I was really, really feeling the Dallas Mavericks momentum there in the offseason, huh? Obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. never really had a chance. I think Christian Wood, now that I'm remembering, was like number 2 in betting odds for 6th man of the year heading into the season. I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. No, I had Jordan Poole. I thought it was going to be him. He had the best betting odds, but it's obviously not him, and I would never pick Jordan Poole. Again, one of my least favorite players in the NBA. Just a hilarious player to watch. Infuriating. If he were on my team, I'd want to rip my hair out continuously. Although I will say he did kill the Dallas Mavericks last year in the playoffs, so props to him. But Jordan Poole, I'm 0-4. I don't think I'm going to get a single one right here. Defensive player of the year, Bam Adebayo was my pick. That's not going to happen. I actually don't know who's going to win defensive player of the year, guys. I was looking through some of the stuff. You know, they have that spreadsheet that goes around from Reddit where they're keeping track of everyone's votes. Evan Mobley might win. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. I thought was a lock, but seeing some of these votes, it's very early, but seeing some of these votes, Evan Mobley really might win Defensive Player of the Year this year, which is absolutely slightly insane. Dorian Finney-Smith, what was I doing? What was going on in my brain? There is just no world in which Dorian Finney-Smith would ever win Defensive Player of the Year. I guess this was my slightly insane, is putting it lightly, to say the least. 48th best odds for Dodo. Maybe my line of thinking was the Mavericks are going to be good defensively again, and people are going to want to give Dorian his props. I have no idea. My safe pick was Gobert, who was the betting favorite. I did think the Timberwolves would be better than they ended up being, and I thought that he would be a big reason why, and they would be really good defensively, and the voters would want to award that. That obviously was not the case. But my real pick was Bam. I just thought it was his year, and he's probably going to be an all-defensive team guy, maybe second team, if I had to guess. A good season for him, but just not a defensive player of the year. And I don't think I'm going to get a single one of these right. And I didn't get a single one of these right. Unfortunate. My All-NBA teams, let's just take a quick peek at these. First team, I had Steph. That's not happening. Just didn't play enough games. Luka does not seem like that's going to happen anymore either. Although, I'm going to be honest with you. I think like people who have De'Aaron Fox over Luka, you're just being fake woke. I'm just being real. Like you are the NBA equivalent of being fake woke. Because let's just get serious for a second. I get team record and everything, but Fox just was nowhere near Luka. Like, it just is what it is. I know we're disappointed in the Mavericks. We're disappointed in Luka, but let's get serious, okay? Giannis first team. That's happening for sure. KD didn't play enough games. Embiid first team. So I got that right. Embiid, I'm assuming he's going to be first team since he's going to win the MVP. Trae Young second team. Oh, man. I was very high on Trae Young. He's not making an All-NBA team. I'll tell you that much. See, Dame to me should be an All-NBA guy. He just was for sure one of the 6 best guards in the NBA this season. You can't even doubt that. But I don't know if he's going to get it. I would give him a vote for sure, but I don't think he's going to get one. Tatum's probably going to be first team if I had to guess. Zion. What did he play? 18 games? Jesus. Jokic will be second team. Ja, I don't know what's going to happen with Ja. I'm assuming he's going to get an All-NBA selection, but I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. Zach LaVine. Okay, what was I cooking there? LeBron James, he'll probably get an All-NBA nod. Paul George, no. And Bam, unfortunately not. It's going to be Sabonis in that last center spot. What was I cooking with Zach LaVine? I might need to go rewatch this stream after I'm done recording this because I can't for the life of me understand what was going through my brain there. Zach LaVine, third team All-NBA. Hey, he's actually been really good since the second half of the season started. So I'll give him some props there. But third team All-NBA, yikes. So I didn't get a single one of these right. Okay, sick. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference predictions. Again, thanks to Pixar staff for helping me out with these graphics. I think I did pretty good on these. Like the team predictions, I think I did a pretty decent job. Okay, I have the standings here up to the side just so I can remind myself where certain teams finished. But I want to say I know exactly where every team finished. I had the Hornets finishing dead last which didn't end up being the case. They were like decent after the All-Star break, around 500 All-Star break onwards, which is kind of crazy. But they still finished, 14th in the conference, 27-55. I believe their preseason win total is like 35.5. I put a lot of money on the under, and that just felt like the easiest bet of all prop bets or team totals heading into the season. The Hornets, I just thought they would shut it down at a certain point, and they pretty much did. They were terrible, and I was right about that. Like, Vegas thought they were a play-in team again. I just didn't see that happening at all. I had the Pacers finishing 14th. They finished 11th. Okay, so they were much better than I thought they'd be. I remember thinking they would be terrible. So I had them 14th. I didn't have them finishing last, but I thought that they would be absolutely atrocious. And for a long portion of the season, it looked like they could maybe sneak into the play-in tournament. And Rick Carlisle was getting like Coach of the Year buzz. But Halliburton got hurt, and then they lost a ton of games, and then they just shut guys down. Yeah, they closed the season poorly, but much better than I thought they would be. So I'll give them some props there. Magic at 13th. They ended up finishing, 12th? Oh, they did end up finishing 13th. Okay, well, I got that one completely right. Yeah! Woo! I like this Magic team. I think heading into the season, I thought, wait a second. Where are the Detroit Pistons? Because I know heading into the season, I thought the Magic, the Thunder, the Pistons. These, to me, were like the three fun, interesting, exciting young teams in the league. I thought one of those three teams would make the play-in tournament. I was right. Give me some credit. But I thought the Magic had a pretty good shot at making the play-in, and for a while they were in it, but, just too young. A fun, exciting team, but yeah. 12th, I had the Wizards. Where the fuck did I have the Pistons in the play-in tournament? Please tell me I did not. Well, I picked the Wizards right, too. Woohoo! I actually kind of liked their team heading into the season. I remember I thought they had a pretty good team. I think I also did a stream where I predicted the best and worst case scenarios for each team, and I had the Wizards had like one of the biggest margins, where I thought that they, like, if they did everything that they were capable of doing, they could be like a 6 seed almost. And we kind of saw that for a lot of the season, but then it just kind of, they were just they were just so painfully that they just ended up becoming bad towards the back half of the season. I got them right, so I'll give myself some props there. Okay, thank God. Here are the Pistons at 11th. Obviously, they finished dead last and the worst team in the NBA by a comfortable margin. They were absolutely horrific from the All-Star break onwards, and I was very off on them. For a second, I thought I had them in the play-in, so I'm at least happy to see I didn't have that. But, it was just a terrible season for the Pistons. No two ways around it. Obviously, it all went downhill once Cade got injured immediately, and that was a big reason why I had them 11th. I thought Cade was taking a superstar leap. Like, I was fairly confident about that, and we didn't get anything even remotely resembling that, because even in the time he did play, it didn't look fantastic. Didn't look as bad as maybe the numbers would say, but it didn't look fantastic. And then, of course, he ended up missing the whole entire season. Jaden Ivey got asked to do way too much. Record-wise, obviously the worst team in the NBA, but there's some stuff. Like, Ivy showed some flashes. Jalen Duren is a stud. Like, you got some stuff going for you. Bojan, worst case scenario, you could trade Bojan for some picks, recoup some assets there. You robbed the Jazz blind in that trade. I still don't even understand how that trade went through, or how that trade got accepted by Utah, by Danny Ainge, the fleecer. That's what they say. But yeah, the Pistons, I was way off on them. I had them as a borderline playing team, and I think even if Cade does play, they're nowhere close to that. And they won 17 games. Yeesh. Yikes. Bulls at 10. And they do finish at 10. Oh my God, I'm on a hot streak, man. I am on a hot streak. The Bulls, I had the Bulls finishing 10th. Yeah, they are who they are. I thought that they would be average as fuck, and that's exactly what they were. And I also thought there was like a sneaky blow-up potential there for them. They probably should have done it. They didn't. They're going to the play-in tournament. And I don't know. They've been okay over the past couple of months, I guess, but they're just exactly what this would indicate. Just a team. 9th, I had the Knicks. All right, obviously the Knicks finished 5th. One of the bigger surprises in the entire NBA this season. I thought they would be good. Like the 9th, being 9th, there's some people I remember who predicted them to miss the play-in tournament entirely. 9th feels low, but I like their team though. I really did. And I remember thinking their ceiling was hosting a playoff series. So it wasn't like I thought that they were, bad. I knew Brunson was going to be good. I knew Brunson was going to be good with them. I've watched Brunson play his whole career. Unfortunately, Mavericks fucked that up so badly. But I watched him play his whole career. I knew he was going to be good with the Knicks. I didn't expect this. I would be 1,000,000% lying to you if I said I knew he was going to be a borderline all-NBA level player. I would definitely be lying to you if I thought Julius Randle was going to return to form. I just kind of threw that season he had 2 years ago out the window. I thought that was just some absurd shooting luck, and we would never see that again from him. And he damn near had a better season this year than that season. So props to him. RJ Barrett, okay. Let's go ahead and crop him out of the pic. No, I'm just kidding. There actually is a picture around Twitter that had it was this exact picture, actually, and RJ was cropped out, and all you could see was his arm. Fucked up for RJ, but true. He's not very good. So anyways, yeah, the Knicks were way better than I thought they would be, so props to them. The Raptors, I had finishing 8th. They finished 9th. I'm giving myself a pat on the back for this one because this was all like the blog boys, the NBA podcasters. This was the team that people loved. People loved the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference. How could you not? Like, they were the 6th seed last year, and they got better on paper. Or were they the 5 seed? Either way, they got better on paper, right? And like Scotty Barnes, a year of Scotty Barnes, is he gonna take the superstar leap? I did not see it at all with them. I just didn't. I didn't like their roster construction. I hated their depth. And everything that I feared for them heading into the season pretty much came true. Their offense was disgusting. Scotty Barnes did not take the leap. He was still pretty good, but he did not take the leap forward. Siakam completely and totally burned out at the halfway point of the season. Fred VanVleet was not very good for huge portions of the season. And, so I'll give myself a pat on the back here for having them not only in the play-in, but like the 8th seed, like comfortably in the play-in. So good job on me. 7th. Oh, I had the Cavs in the play-in tournament? Damn. This one is rough. The Cavs obviously finished 4th. Oh, they ended up not having the best point differential, but they had the second best point differential in the entire NBA. Advanced Analytics absolutely love the Cavaliers still to this day. So I fucked up there. I remember my thinking was they would start the season kind of slowly, having to integrate Donovan Mitchell into all of this, and it would kind of be a rocky start, and then they would figure it out and take off. But that didn't happen. They were incredible to start the season. Then they sort of started teetering and falling a little bit towards the end of the season. But, I was definitely wrong in the Cavs. Man, in the play-in? Oh, God. What does that mean? Where do I have them? Okay, here they are. 6th, the Atlanta Hawks. I'm always so fucking high on them. I did this same exact thing last year, not just with the Hawks, but with Trae Young. I guess I'm a sucker for these conference finals appearances. You guys will see it when we get to the Western Conference. Don't worry. I'm a sucker for these conference finals appearances where people weren't expecting it. I loved the DeJounte Murray edition. I thought that it made a ton of sense. Then I watched it and realized, oh, this sucks. This is terrible. I loved the idea. I remember going into last season, Bogdan had an injury that he was recovering from during the summer. Capella had an injury he was recovering from heading into the season. I think DeAndre Hunter did too. They had all of these guys who were hurt heading into the season last year, and I gave them a pass. I said, that's why. That's why last season was such a shit show. And now it's just they dealt with a ton of injuries this year, but John Collins forgot how to play basketball. Capella is good, but he's losing his step a little bit. DeJounte and Trae, very strange pairing. Their offense is just so gross. It's mainly DeJounte Murray. I hate watching him play. God bless the guy, but I cannot stand that game. And then obviously they had the coach situation halfway through the season. So I was wrong on the Hawks yet again. The Heat I had finishing 5th. Just couldn't quit them. I did not like them heading into the season. I remember that. I think I had them as having the worst offseason in the NBA last year. I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look at that. But I just couldn't quit them. In a retrospect, I wish I did because they're just painfully mediocre and frustrating. Every time it felt like they were going to start figuring stuff out, well, some shit would hit the fan. Okay, thank God. I was actually worried that I have the Nets higher than this. 4th for the Nets. Yeah, that's a pretty good prediction. They looked to be like a top 4, top 3 even team in the East before they blew it all up. This picture I chose is hilarious. I was really in on Ben Simmons. I think I had Ben Simmons 50th in my top 100 player rankings heading into the season. I really thought that he was going to have a bounce back season and really be a big contributor. And he was a contributor. He was a contributor to the housing crisis, the homeless crisis, all throughout the United States with the amount of bricks that he was throwing up this season. Or I take that back, the lack thereof, because he never shot the fucking ball. So Ben Simmons is pretty much done. They trade Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving mid-season, and even then, they finished 6th. It felt like they were going to have a free fall and fall out of the playoffs, and maybe even the play-in entirely. But they kept their playoff spot, and I was wrong on this one. I had them 4th; they finished 6th. But It's not a terrible prediction. They always had the blowout factor. That was always something heading into the season. Celtics I had finishing third. Obviously, they finished second. First for most of the season. The better part of the season, they were the best team in the league. I thought that they would struggle. They actually were the exact opposite of what I thought they were going to be, where I thought they would struggle a little bit early in the season because of the coaching stuff, and then they would figure it out and hit their stride in the back half of the season, very similar to what they did last year, when in reality it was they started this season, they were a fucking buzzsaw. I remember I was listening to Brian Scalabrine. I don't remember what podcast he was on, but he was saying how, like, yeah, this team is going to finish the season shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, and like 80% from the free throw line. He was like, yeah, like that's their numbers right now. It's not small sample. They're going to do this over the course of a whole season. And I remember thinking, okay, that feels very extreme. Like they had guys shooting like 48% from three, like half their fucking roster in the first few weeks of the season. And obviously they hit a bit of a rough patch like in February, March, and kind of turned it back on a little bit towards the end of the season, had some impressive wins. But, you know, they were a top 3 seed in the East. There's no doubting that. I got the top 3 right, so I'll give myself some props there. Oh, God, I had the Sixers finishing 1? Oh, okay. I don't remember that. All right, so I had the Bucks finishing 2nd. Nothing really to say here about the Bucks. They're incredible. The 1 seed and by far the best-looking team in basketball, despite the fact that this guy right here is basically done nothing and looks very washed, and they need him to play much better in the playoffs, assuming his knee is okay. And then that means I had the Sixers finishing as the 1 seed. Okay. I love the Sixers team heading into the season. I did. And I still kind of like them. I'm not going to lie. I still think they got a pretty solid shot at making it out of the East. But it all depends on this guy right here, Mr. Embiid. Can you stay healthy, Mr. Embiid? Mr. Embiid, can you stay healthy? No response. And this guy, James Harden. Can you put together a good playoff performance, James? James. Wow, no comment. All right, so I had the top 3 right. I'll give myself a pat on the back there. Not terrible. There was no team that I felt I was egregiously wrong on besides the Cavs finishing in the play-in. That was a bit of a stinker. But, you know, and the Knicks at 9. Outside of that, though, not half bad. Western Conference I'm scared of. Let's see. Who did I have finishing last year? The Spurs. Okay. I believe the Spurs and the Rockets tied. Yeah, they tied for the worst record. And I guess they give it to the Spurs. I don't know how this works. It doesn't really matter in the lottery since if you're bottom 3, you all have the same odds. So I don't even know if they'll do a coin flip or whatever. But yeah, I had the Spurs finishing last, and I had the Rockets finishing 2nd to last. So I got that right. Give myself a pat on the back there for that one. The Rockets were a sneaky team for some people. I do remember that. Some people were kind of like, hey, maybe the Rockets have a moment this season. I didn't see that. And I want to give the Spurs a tiny bit of props here because even though I did have them finishing last, I thought they were going to be historically bad. I thought we were going to be, you know, it's March and we're talking about maybe the Spurs are going to have the worst record of all time. Levels bad. But they weren't that. They were bad, but they weren't like historically terrible or anything outside of the normal for bad teams in any given NBA season. And the Rockets, I just didn't see it at all. I like Jabari Smith Jr., but I hated his fit on that team, and we sort of saw it for the better part of the season. No point guards. At some point, you got to take that position seriously. Like, I kind of understand the bargain bin for certain guys in certain positions. Point guard, you might want to get a legit one at some point, not just keep running guys out there that have no business being the point guard out there. So, yeah, they're not very good. Steven Silas, rest in peace. You didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve that. That was a brutal position for any coach to be in. And unfortunately, you were the scapegoat. Come back to Dallas. You can be an assistant. 13th, I had the Jazz, who ended up finishing, 11th? They finished 12th. No, they didn't finish 11th. I know what team finished 11th. I'll give myself a little bit of a pat on the back for this one, too, because I remember the Jazz were like the popular last pick. Like, they were the popular, they're going to be terrible, they're going to be horrible, they're going to be awful. I thought they would be bad. They were better than I thought they were going to be for sure. But I just figured they had too many dogs. Like, they had too many vets, guys who have been around, guys who have been in winning situations before, and guys with like chips on their shoulder to be just like horrifically bad. And that sort of played out. And also, I didn't realize Will Hardy was going to be as good of a coach as he was. Nor did I realize Lauri Markkanen was a fucking star. So all of that happened. And or did I realize Walker Kessler was going to be a top 3 rookie? I didn't know that was going to happen either. So shout out to the Jazz. They finished they were much better than I thought they were going to be, even though they finished around here as well. The Blazers at 12. Pat on the back for myself. Obviously, they finished 13th, but I didn't see it. I like their team, but I got to the point where I was looking at all of these teams because somebody had to miss the play-in, right? 2 teams. I thought every team from here on out had a chance to make the play-in tournament, but somebody had to miss it. And I kept circling the Trailblazers and was just like, you know what, man? I don't see it. Somebody's not. They're not going to play defense, and then beyond that, I think that they would shut it down earlier than any other team. That was my whole thought process with the Trailblazers. I remember specifically now they had the hardest schedule to start the season. Like, they had the hardest opening 20 games out of any team in the NBA, and they were actually great in those games, weren't they? They were like the 1 seed at one point early on in the season. Through like the first month or month and a half, they were top 4 seed. Like, it was kind of a decent amount of time. But then it just went downhill. Dame got hurt. And then they just shut shit down. They just shut it down and tanked. It was the right decision for them. But, man, Chauncey Billups is a fucking disaster. And I have no idea what they're going to do. They're one of the most interesting teams in the offseason, that's for sure. But I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. Thunder, 11th, missing the play-in. They're the 10th seed. You guys are just going to have to take my word for this. Or you can go back and watch the streams if you want to. I really wanted to put them in the play-in. I really, really did. I've always been a big Thunder fan. Like, they're my pet team. They're my second team. They're my favorite team to root for. That's not the Dallas Mavericks. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I thought this team had a chance to be frisky, and they were. They were about exactly where I thought they would be. I didn't know the West was going to be as weak as it was, truthfully. But shout out to the Thunder, man. Shout out to the Thunder. I thought they had a chance. I was right in my prediction that one of the Pistons, Magic, and Thunder would make the play-in tournament. And shout out to them, man. Wow. They're a fun team. I think they're going to get steamrolled in the play-in tournament or the playoffs if they make it that far. But they are a fun, young team. Still the youngest team in the NBA. How about that? Shout out to the Thunder. 10th, I had the Lakers, who I believe finished, 7th, right? They finished 7th. They're in the play-in tournament. Didn't know that they were going to have the big trade deadline and the big second half the way that they did. But, I didn't love their team heading into the season. I didn't want to put them in the play-in tournament. I wanted the Thunder over them and them outside. But I couldn't bet against AD and LeBron like that if they were going to play most of the season. And AD, at least for his standards, was relatively healthy for most of the season and was really fucking good when he played. Same with LeBron. And they made that trade at the trade deadline and have been a much better team over the back half of the season. So they're the 7th seed right now. They're probably better than that in the landscape of the West. Like, they're probably better than the Clippers are right now. Warriors, there's an argument to be made there for the Lakers. Maybe even like the Kings, God bless them. I mean, the Nuggets have been playing like trash lately. But either way, the Lakers, I had them finishing 10th. They finished 7th. Good on them. Ooh, Kings at 9th. Okay. So, yeah, the Kings ended up being way better than I thought they would be, I guess. But, hey, no shame in the game. That's the same. I'm sure everybody else would say the same. Nobody expected the Kings to be the 3 seed. If you're saying yes, your last name is either Sabonis or Fox or Murray or Herter, or you are lying. It's one of the two. The Kings were just way better than I thought they would be. I thought they'd be a play-in team, which I don't think was that crazy of a prediction heading into the season. Their roster was just way too good to not at least be in the play-in. I did not think they'd be the 3 seed, though. Like, that's crazy. I thought the play-in was right for them because I thought that they would maybe have some games late in the season where, like, they need it. If they want to be, like, a playoff team, they need it, and they would just kind of lose it because they're the Kings. And they're just – sometimes that stench just follows you, right? It's nothing against them individually, but sometimes that stench just follows you. But, man – shout out to the Kings. I was wrong on this one. They were much better than I thought they would be. The Pelicans, I had the Pelicans at 8. They finished at 9. I'm going to give myself a lot of props here. Wait a second. What is the context of this picture? Are they, like, injured on the bench and CJ's just on the phone? Or are they, what's going on here? They're probably courtside, I guess. But this is why, this is why I chose this picture for the Pelicans. It's fucked up. It's messed up that I did this when in the past. But this is exactly why. You could not count on these guys to stay healthy. You just couldn't. This was everyone's Cinderella team. Not Cinderella team. That's the wrong word. But this was everyone's favorite team, right? Everyone loved picking the Pelicans to finish top 5. Some people thought like Pelicans first in the conference was up for grabs, and they were really good when Zion played, and they were really good to start the season. But you just cannot bank on these guys to stay healthy, man. That just is what it is. There are some teams out there and some guys out there that I'll give a tiny bit of a pass to. But I can't give a pass to Zion. This guy has barely played a quarter of the games available in his career. B.I. has been hurt and was hurt for most of the season. He's been tremendous lately, but he was hurt for most of the season, and that really hurt them. So, yeah, this team is just I need to see it to believe it with them when it comes to these guys being healthy over the course of an entire season. And this is exactly how I thought it might play out. Because I remember I was like, it's really hard to pick teams in the West. And I thought, well, the Pelicans have the biggest question mark in terms of injury stuff, so I'll just drop them, and that's how it went. I had the Suns finishing 7th and making the play-in. Understand one thing. This was out of pure hatred. Like, that's it. There was no real logic behind it. There was no X's and O's reasonings behind it. It was just out of pure hatred and discontent and disliking of the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker and Chris Paul. And that was just on some pure hater shit. Obviously, they finished 4th and looked to be maybe the best team in the Western Conference now. Obviously, I didn't anticipate them trading for Kevin Durant. I was poo-pooing that all summer long. Didn't think they would have what it took to get it done. Definitely didn't expect a KD trade to happen midseason. That absolutely took me by surprise. Kyrie, yeah, maybe. KD did not expect that to happen. So the Suns finished higher than I anticipated. Granted, they were around here before the KD trade. They were in this area, right? In the weeks leading up to the KD trade, obviously because D-Book was hurt and they could not win a game for the longest time without him. But yeah, the Suns, this is just some pure hatred shit. So I'll give myself a little bit of a pass here. I had the Grizzlies finishing 6th. They obviously finished higher than this. I just figured I wanted to put some teams in the top 5 that weren't previously in the top 5. I want to put some teams in the top 4 that weren't previously in the top 4 a year ago. And the Grizzlies were just an unfortunate, casualty of this. I thought that they were the easiest, or not the easiest, but the biggest prime candidate for regression. And that was a mistake. In my defense, I think when I did this, the reports about Jaren Jackson's injury were that he was going to miss way more time than he ended up missing. So I'll just give myself a little bit of a pass there, okay? But I just got to realize the Grizzlies, man, they're like the Heat of the Western Conference. They're going to replace guys with younger guys. Their player development is fantastic. Their scouting department is fantastic, right? They just have these young dudes. It's like they lose Kyle Anderson, who's a real important piece for them. Well, here comes Santi Aldama. Like, he's going to do some really important stuff for them. David Roddy, he's going to have some moments for you, right? Like, they just have these guys that just get the job done. So shout out to them. They're a tremendously built team, a well-run organization. They finished as the 2 seed. I was not a believer in them, and I should have been. That was a fuck up on my part. Yeah, I had the Timberwolves at 5. And this wasn't like, 5th isn't that crazy. Like, that's not that high of a prediction. But I was incredibly high on them. Like, this is a high 5. Like, I had them comfortably in my brain ahead of the Grizzlies, right? It wasn't like they were neck and neck to me. They were, like, ahead of them. I believed in them. I did not like the Gobert trade. I thought it was an egregious overpay, okay? Because in the offseason, I was talking about the Mavericks going to get Rudy Gobert, and I thought it would take one singular pick. Not what the Timberwolves gave up. But I still thought, even though the price tag was ridiculous, that Rudy was really going to help this team. And yeah, he's fucking suspended for the play-in game. Like, that's where we're at. They are the 8 seed, which isn't like horrific or anything like that. But the guy that you just gave up literally the farm for, like, you sold the farm and all the cattle and the ranch, right? The mineral rights, you sold all of it. And the guy that you traded it for is not playing in the play-in tournament. So it was a disappointing season for the Timberwolves. No two ways around it. Very up and down season. Anthony Edwards taking a huge leap forward was nice for you. But ultimately, yeah, tough go of it for Minnesota. I thought that they would be better than they were comfortably. Oh, God, I thought I had the Nuggets way higher than this. Okay, the Nuggets at 4. Yes, if you're wondering, there is a certain team that's, yes, we'll get to them in a second, okay? Trust me, I know how embarrassing it was. The Nuggets at 4, I don't know my logic here. A lot of people thought they were going to be the best team in the West. Obviously, I didn't think that was going to be the case. And I truthfully don't know why. If I had to guess, I would say I was concerned about Jamal Murray and MPJ staying healthy over the course of a full season. But I loved what they did in the offseason. I thought that they had one of the best offseasons in basketball. Getting KCP, I love that addition for them. He's been great for them. Aaron Gordon was tremendous for them. Yeah, I like this Nuggets team. I like them. I mean, having them 4th is nice. The 1 seed, though, I thought they had it in them. I would be shocked if I didn't think I had it in them, but I don't remember my thinking at this time. Maybe I was drunk. I don't know. 3, I had the Los Angeles Clippers. They finished 6th. Or wait, no, they finished 5th. Sorry. A little bit hypocritical of me because I just said I couldn't trust the Pelicans at all to stay healthy. And I guess me having them finish 3rd meant I really did trust in the Clippers' health, especially Kawhi coming off an ACL injury. So I'm a little bit surprised about this, them being this high here. I'd have to go back and look at my logic. But, they finished 5th. It's not like it's that outlandish here. But I still am a believer in this Clippers team. I want to say they were my preseason championship prediction. I could be wrong, but I'm almost confident that's what it was. Yeah, I had the Mavericks finishing 2nd. I really did think they were going to get better. And really, if you think about it, okay, if you really logically think, sit back and think about it, right? The areas of regression, obviously losing Jalen Brunson for nothing fucking sucks. And in a lot of ways, it tanked your season. But the areas of regression for the Mavericks, rebounding, defense, Jalen Brunson, hey, newsflash, Jalen Brunson's 6 feet tall. He's not solving either of those problems. Okay? I miss him dearly, and I wish we kept him. But I'm still scratching my head as to what exactly went wrong with this Mavericks team this year. Like, was Jalen Brunson such a keeper of the vibes that the locker room just literally went to shit without him? Is that the reasoning? I don't know what went wrong with this Mavericks team this year. But I thought they would be better. I thought we would see an MVP unlocked, Luka Doncic. I thought, Christian Wood was going to be the best center they've had in a long time. And he was, but that's just such a low bar that I don't even really count it. Okay, it's like not a compliment, really. It's just it's basically a participation trophy at that point. And man, they were just a fucking catastrophe. There's just no two ways around it. Nowhere in my wildest dreams did I expect this. No, there's nobody out there who would have expected this. You're lying to yourself if you thought there was a chance heading into, like, if you went back in time and told me before the season started, hey, the Mavericks are going to finish, what was it? 38-44 and be the 11th seed in the Western Conference, miss the play-in tournament entirely, I would say, oh, Luka missed 70 games. Like, that's what I would say. I would say Luka missed 65 games, and they won most of the games he played, and that's why the record's not worse. But the fact that he was healthy for the majority of the season, and then they traded for Kyrie, and they were still this trash, we need a documentary or something. We need to tell all from one of the guys. We need some leaks. Something fucking happened in there. I need to know what it was. I need to understand because it still does not make sense. A little bit of a drop-off makes some sense, but this far of a fall does not make any sense whatsoever. And that means I did have the Warriors as the 1 seed. They finished as the 6 seed, so I thought they were going to have a buzzsaw type season. Not the 2016 regular season they had, 2015-2016 regular season, but I thought that they were going to have a dominant regular season. I thought that, yeah, right here. This is why I use this picture. I thought they were going to use the Draymond punching Jordan Poole thing as fuel, and they were just going to go on this crazy run where it's like everyone thinks we're done. Everyone thinks this is it for us. We're going to show them. We're going to win fucking 68 games this year, and that just was not the case whatsoever. What did they finish as on the road? 11-30 on the road. 33-8 at home. Like a dominant team. If you give them that same record on the road, which I know you can't do, that's a 66-win team right there. That's dominant. But, yeah, I was wrong. The Western Conference was a little bit rough. Looking at it right now, I didn't get any of the top 3 teams right. That's actually amazing. I didn't have a single team in the top 3 right. In the East, I got every top 3 team right. I just didn't have the order right. But in the West, I didn't get a single top 3 team, and I barely got a top 4 team. I only had one top 5 team. Yeah, I guess the Clippers finished 5th. So there you go. Yeah. They weren't embarrassingly bad, but they weren't great. It's like I'm good at picking the bad teams. I'm good at figuring out which teams are going to be bad, but it's just like figuring out which teams are going to be dominant. I don't know. These aren't as embarrassing as I thought they would be. They're not great, though. There's some impressive picks in here and some absolute fuck-ups, like the Mavericks finishing as a 2 seed. And that was just me. Yeah, that's just the slightly biased in me. That's what you guys come here for. Do I apologize? No. Will I ever apologize? No.